Hi, everyone. Thanks for waiting. I see some folks coming into the room. Thank you for being here this evening and welcome to tonight's webinar with the PRIMED network folks. I'm really happy to see everyone again. It's great to see you. I'm going to give just a brief introduction to Coastwatch, and then I'll give an introduction to the wonderful group that's joining us this evening. I am the coordinator for the volunteer program of Oregon Shores Conservation Coalition, and Oregon Shores Conservation Coalition is a regional group that works to protect the Oregon coast from the Columbia River to the California border, and tackling a wide range of conservation concerns, including land use planning, endangered species, shoreline management, and marine conservation. Oregon Shores is celebrating 50 years this year in 2021. So please check out the website soon for some exciting speakers and events coming up this summer. And Coastwatch is a mile-by-mile beach and rocky shore adoption program where volunteers file reports on shoreline changes throughout the years and also participate in citizen science surveys, monitoring beach cleanups, and so much more. A few projects, citizen science projects that we have going on right now. This is one with Rebecca Straley-Mostow from OSU. She is conducting a hybrid beach grass hunt. If any of these interest you, please contact me. I will have my email at the end. We have marine debris surveys with NOAA, where I do trainings all up and down the Oregon coast, and you can join a group or you can start a group. Sea star observation surveys with Marine, Oregon King Tides Project with the Oregon Coastal Management Program, dead bird surveys with Coast, all kinds of Rocky Shores stewardship. Oregon Shore supports Rocky Shores stewardship and designations on the Oregon coast. And then one of our newest partners is PRIMED. And these are trainings to recognize marine diseases. You're going to learn a lot more tonight. And tonight is mostly focused on an iNaturalist training. So bring out your phones and make sure that you have iNaturalist downloaded in those if you don't already. The PRIMED network is a group of interdisciplinary scientists found across the US and Canada. The network itself is divided into two subnetworks, the monitoring network and the response network. And these subnetworks work together with other programs to detect and then mobilize when another marine disease like the one that killed millions of sea stars happens. Warming oceans caused by climate change that create environments for bacteria to thrive. And so while we still don't know exactly what killed the sea stars, scientists are certain that warmer waters can cause a cascade of changes that result in diseases in some marine animals and plants. And PRIMED is there to help. And as they say, they are primed for the future. And I'm very happy to have all of you tonight. For those of you watching, some of the names are not correct, maybe just one. And so I'm sure that everyone will introduce themselves tonight. And I would like to, I think, start with Sarah Gravem, who is the coordinator for the PRIMED network. And Sarah, I can stop sharing if you would like to share your screen.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. Okay, can y'all see that?
Yes.
Great. So my name is Sarah Gravem. I am a researcher at Oregon State University, and I founded the PRIMED network with a bunch of my colleagues who are here today. And so PRIMED stands for the Primary Responders in Marine Emergent Diseases. And I just going to give you a little outline of what we're going to go through today. So we're going to just do some presenter bios because we all come from OSU, and I've got a lot of students here that are eager to talk to you. A background and an update on PRIMED network and how to use a naturalist, and specifically the PRIMED project in iNaturalist, which is called Marine Wildlife Health. So we're going to give you a little training on how to use the app, how we use your data, and then a little top 10 critters to submit fun list. So my name is Sarah Gravem, like I said. I founded PRIMED. I'm from California. I grew up in the Bay Area, abalone diving with my dad, and have been at Santa Barbara and at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and at Davis and at the Day Marine Lab. And I've worked in Tahiti and Australia. And now I'm at Oregon State. And I have been doing intertidal ecology for over a decade. So that's my story. And I just wanted to give you a chance to meet my team, who will do most of the talking today. I won't even talk anymore.
Hi, everyone. My name's Laurel. My pronouns are she, her. I'm currently a master's student at Oregon State studying marine protection overseas, but my background is in marine ecology and intertidal ecology. And I mostly work with PRIMED on the outreach elements. So yeah, nice to meet everyone.
Hey everybody, I'm Silka. I'm a graduate student at OSU in the 5th year now of my PhD. And I am broadly interested in community ecology, climate change, and disease events, but similar to many of our members, I grew up tide pooling up in the Puget Sound in Washington State, went down to Southern California to do my undergraduate degree, and then now I'm back up here in Oregon, having a great time studying intertidal ecosystems and how they're impacted by sea star wasting syndrome. And I also work in New Zealand studying the effects of climate change and ocean acidification on a snail species that's very similar to the one that I study here in Oregon.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrea Burton, and like Silka, I'm a PhD student at OSU in the IB department, also in my 5th year. And my research looks at the adaptive potential of marine invertebrates to stresses associated with climate change. So some thermal stress, but also heavily on ocean acidification as well.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Tonra. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a 1st-year PhD student at Oregon State. I work with a great lab that does a lot of marine ecology, but in particular, I study seaweeds in all over the place. Some of my work is in the Caribbean, where I will be working this summer, but I also love kelp and coral and algae, which is that little pink one on the top there. So that's sort of my passion project, but seaweed is my favorite thing. So yeah, generally my research focuses on the roles that these different types of algae play in their environments.
Hi, my name is Lily Miksell and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm an undergraduate studying biology and doing rocky intertidal research at Oregon State. I've also been working as an intern for PRIMED for over a year now. So nice to meet you all.
Hi, my name is Genevieve Coblentz-Strong. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am an undergraduate student at Oregon State University studying oceanography and mechanical engineering, and I am an intern for the PRIME network, mainly focusing on outreach.
All right, so Jessie gave a really wonderful introduction to who we are and what we do, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about PRIMED and sort of our story and our early founding. Our mission overall is to detect, monitor, and effectively respond to marine wildlife disease emergencies in a changing ocean. And that exists around a couple different major thematic areas, including studying the ecology and environment of marine wildlife, studying the epidemiology of marine disease emergencies, undertaking mitigation and remediation after a marine wildlife disease emergency, and coordinating network response of all the different folks who all coexist in this marine wildlife disease realm to ensure that we have an effective response to marine disease emergencies. We are a really mixed, diverse group of academics, vets, managers, conservationists, and many, many others that all sort of share the same goal, which is to increase public awareness and engagement opportunities by local communities in detecting, monitoring, and mitigating disease emergencies. And our founding and the reason we exist was due to sea star wasting syndrome, one of the most widespread marine wildlife disease emergencies documented. And there were a ton of successes in the terms of how researchers worked together to mount a response and understand what was going on and survey the sea stars and understand where they were being affected and how. But we also had some challenges where our response was potentially could have been faster or better coordinated. And that might have helped us determine more effectively the disease cause of this outbreak. So the only way to be ready for one of these disease events is to be paying attention and to have lots of eyes out on the beach looking for disease symptoms and to have infrastructure ready. And so, you know, there's no CDC for wildlife, but we're trying to sort of fill a little piece of that role in the marine wildlife space. And our motto kind of encompasses that by saying, with toes on the beach, boots in the tide pools, and fins in the water, we're primed for the future. And so we're here to recruit some new toes, boots, and fins to continue to work on this project. And we have a map, thanks Sarah, of all of our different members, just to highlight sort of the widespread nature of our network. And we have over 100 different folks, again, across a wide range of community members, veterinarians, academic researchers, all kinds of folks are part of our network right now.
So why marine diseases? We are seeing an increase in frequency and severity of marine diseases globally, and this is due to stressors associated with climate change. In particular, we are seeing a higher prevalence of diseases associated with like higher temperatures along the coastline, and then also just in like the Caribbean, pretty much all over the ocean, along with other stresses that can also be attributing to increased prevalence of diseases such as pollution being added to the water, ocean acidification, or even hypoxia that can just increasingly stress out the organisms and lead to downstream effects of diseases. Marine diseases can spread more rapidly due to human exposure, in which they can quickly move an organism along with pathogens from one region of the ocean to another. So we're seeing lots of diseases increasing in frequency over the last couple of decades. And the increasing rates of diseases, both on land and also in the ocean, but we're more focused on the ocean side of it, are incredibly concerning, not just because the diseases itself are inflicting the organisms of interest, but these organisms can be commercially valuable, keystone species, economically important, such as salmon or even oysters that are inflicted by Vibrio. So these organisms are of interest to us. But in addition, marine diseases can impact organisms that aren't commercially valuable, such as those of like a keystone species like the sea star that will maintain the habitat. And in doing so, if those organisms are removed, that habitat can have cascading effects of losing other species that are then impacted by a disease as well.
So working with wildlife populations has some difficulties that don't normally come up in things like humans or domestic animals. So when you're working in the ocean and generally with these wild populations, you can't just go out and treat a disease. It would be nearly impossible to go out and give medicine to urchins or something like that. So part of the reasons that this is so hard is that there is not a lot of historical information. There's not too many people hanging out 100 feet underwater, checking out what's happening all the time. So we don't always know what the before case would be like. So by the time there is some big outbreak, we're not sure what we're comparing it to. And in the same vein, there's no real central database for reporting these types of disease observations. So even if somebody were to see something, there's no one place that we're all sort of contributing to. And so to this end, the only real thing to do is to manage these populations, and that entails protections, like MPAs could be one solution, limiting harvest and transportation so we're not spreading diseases more than they're already spreading on their own, captive propagation, and repopulation to try to help these affected populations post-disease outbreak. So since this is so difficult, we need your help. So what we're here to talk about tonight is our iNaturalist project called Marine Wildlife Health to help us detect marine disease outbreaks. So because once something happens in the ocean, it's really, really hard to control. And so the goal here is early detection. And like Silke said, if we have more boots in the tide pools, this will help us detect things early. So by continuing to participate in Coast Watch, helping us with our iNaturalist, and just keeping an eye out and letting scientists like us know when you see something is a really good way to help.
All right, so transitioning into talking a little bit more about iNaturalist, what it's about, what it does. If you're not already familiar, iNaturalist is a really, really cool website that sort of forms this online social network of naturalists, community scientists, and researchers. And it allows you to take photos of observations that you make of plants, animals, fungi, and more, and then identify them with the help of experts. And so when you share your observations, you can discuss your findings and bat around different suggestions for identification. And then iNaturalist also is really powerful because it's sort of crowdsourced identifications are often very accurate, which is really exciting for scientists who are trying to engage with communities and use the types of data that communities can generate, these citizen science observations, to gain a better understanding of the natural system in which they're working or the research question that they're trying to answer. And you can hit the next one, Sarah. And there are a number of different ways you can access iNaturalist. The first one is by going to their website, so that's iNaturalist.org. And you can also download the iNaturalist app on your phone, which is screenshotted there on the right. And this screenshot on the left from the website of all of the observations is in here just to show you how many different observations have been submitted in our area. So this is along the Central Oregon coast, and you can see that there are so many, almost 50 million or 52 million observations worldwide, and a huge density of observations in our own backyards and along Oregon's coastal habitats. So really exciting and active network. And iNaturalist, in addition to having these features where you can upload your observations, also has individual projects that you can participate in. And these projects are really awesome for research groups like PRIMED because they allow researchers to more easily collect observations that are relevant to their research. And it coordinates the efforts of those submitting to iNaturalist, right? So if you submit an observation that's part of a project to which you belong, then we're automatically sort of informed or notified. Those observations automatically are listed as being a part of that project. We can also collect a little bit of additional information about the organism that you're submitting to iNaturalist. And so for us, right, we care a lot about disease. We have some additional categories that ask things like, is this organism alive or is it dead? Does it have symptoms of a marine disease? You know, what did you see? Can you tell us a little bit more about what you have observed? And if you suspect that there's a disease status of a given organism, we have some extra stuff in the project where you can let us know what you think is going on or what you've observed. And so our iNaturalist project, like we've mentioned, is called Marine Wildlife Health. We have 168 observations. I think that's an old screenshot. I think we have a few more now these days. But its goal is to help us collect information on the health status of marine organisms. And we're active in the project. I use iNaturalist for hiking and tide pooling and all kinds of stuff myself. So I am a disease expert in some realms. We have a number of different people contributing to the project to help us confirm if organisms are sick, and to sort of help us understand any potential symptoms that we see in the submissions. And PRIMED is using this information to track new diseases as well as existing outbreaks. And you can submit observations. Our final plug is that you can submit observations of healthy organisms too. We want to know and get a baseline for which organisms are healthy before a disease event might be detected.
I'm going to take these two slides and I'm going to just give you a little primer on how to join the project on iNaturalist first, because you have to join the project in order to submit observations to the project. So once you have the iNaturalist app downloaded, which you can get in any app store, and it's free. If you're on the website, you can go up to this community tab and click on projects. Or if you're on a phone, you can go up to the projects tab on your phone under more, which is on the bottom right, and then click on projects. Or if you're on an Android phone, you click on your profile and there'll be a projects tab. So somewhere in your menus, there'll be a project tab. And once you get there, you, if you're on the web, you can just up on the top right, click join this project. But if you're on your phone, you search for the Marine Wildlife Health Project and you hit join. So in order to, this step is kind of like a pre-step that you would want to do before you go out and go to the tide pools. You could do it out there too, you just have to have reception. All right, Lily.
Yeah, so to make an observation, you click on the camera icon that says observe, and then you'll be given the option to either take a new picture in the field or select pictures from your camera roll. Next slide. So once you've selected the picture or pictures you want to use, it will ask for details about your observation. So from this screen, you can specify which organism you observed, when and where you observed it, and which project you'd like to add it to. So first, you should specify the organism you observed. You'll click on the box with the question mark that says, "What did you see?" So you can search for organisms by their scientific or common names, but iNaturalist will automatically bring up a list of suggestions for genus and species. If you aren't sure, that's okay, just go with your best guess. It's common for people from the iNaturalist community to confirm your identification or make new suggestions. So if I were uploading the observation from this example, I would just go with Ladia limpets, which is a genus, nothing more specific because I'm not familiar with limpets. Next. After you specify the organism, you can edit the date, time, and location if needed. These details are usually filled out automatically by iNaturalist, but it doesn't hurt to double check and just make sure they're correct. If you aren't sure of the exact time, a rough estimate is perfectly fine. So below that, you can edit other details like whether or not the organism was captive. However, none of the observations for marine wildlife health should be of captive organisms. Next. And so the last step is to add the observation to the Marine Wildlife Health Project. You will only be able to do this after you've joined the project. So please make sure to do that before making observations. Tap on project at the bottom of the screen and then toggle on Marine Wildlife Health. Next. You will then be asked for additional details about the organism, which we call health data. The details we'd like to know are the health of the organism and whether or not it's alive or dead. So under health status, you can specify whether or not the organism was healthy, diseased, or injured. And if you aren't sure of the health, that's okay, just select unknown health. Primed experts or other iNaturalist community members can also make suggestions about that. So under status, you'll specify whether or not the organism was alive or dead. And under apparent health, you can type in the text box to let us know anything else you think is relevant to the health of the organism. Next. And after that, you're ready to submit your observation. So simply click done at the top of the details page and your observation will have been uploaded to iNaturalist and the project.
So now we're going to go over some of the top 10 rocky shores critters that you can submit to our project. So next slide. So the first one is sunflower stars. These have been affected by the sea star wasting syndrome. So as you can see on the left, that is a healthy sea star, and on the right, that is a diseased sea star. So if you see anything, if you see them healthy or diseased, please submit them. Next. This is ochre sea star. These are similar to the sunflower stars in that they have been hit hard by sea star wasting syndrome. So again, if you see these healthy or unhealthy, please submit them. They'll often look like they have lesions all over them. They may be missing limbs, and they may kind of look like they're melting. Those are all symptoms of sea star wasting syndrome. Next. California mussels, these are really common to see in tide pools. So again, if you see them healthy or dead, please submit them. Next. These are purple sea urchins. These are another common critter to see in the tide pools. You'll often see them kind of burrowed into some rocks. So please submit them if you see them. Next. This is surf grass, another common critter, not critter, but another common thing to see in tide pools. Next. Red urchins, these aren't as common as the purple urchins, but you will still see them in our tide pools off the coast here. Next. Gooseneck barnacles, these are often in patches of other barnacles or mussels. They're also very common off of our coast. Next. Rockweed, also a very common thing to see along our coast and in tide pools. Next. Giant green anemones, another very common thing to see on our along our coast. All of these organisms are really common to see, which is why we want them submitted to our project, because they are all really important species in the tide pools along our coasts. Next. Finally, bull kelp. You won't see this as often in tide pools, but this is often washed up on the beach. So you often see it dead on the beach, but still please submit it to our project. Next. Oh, I think that's it.
I think that's it. Cool. So that's all we have. If you want a little bit more about diseases or about how to get more involved or how PRIMED works, you can visit our website at www.primednetwork.org. And another plug is the Oregon Coast BioBlitz is coming up, and PRIMED is going to be the subject of the BioBlitz. So those are hosted by the aquarium, and they're going to be advertising like crazy. So keep your eyes out. Those are going to happen in June and July this year, and we'll be hosting those, and you'll be getting out there with your iNaturalist and taking pictures of organisms. Yeah.